the uncomfortable truth about America's new anti-gay laws in this show.
States vote to close shops to same-sex couples. Why are police targeting the gay community with sting operations? And the code of silence in Major League Sport.
A new white paper on LGBT rights finds mainstream media silent about an astonishing and rising number of anti-gay attacks in the US each day. New York, despite its liberal reputation, is being hit on, quote, a daily basis. 32-year-old Mark Carson died instantly from being shot in the head. A group asked if he was gay, then pulled out a .38 caliber revolver. 2 gay men were murdered by a gang on New York streets after being brutalized with wooden objects over their sexuality. This gay couple needed ER treatment and eye surgery after being beaten in broad daylight at a subway stop as the public looked on. Outside the bigger cities, the report finds homophobic attacks are also rising rapidly.
They were stomping on my head and calling me a faggot and a queer, and one of them said, "Do you want to die?"
Jared Fox was repeatedly attacked by dozens of men and women, his face left bleeding and eardrum ruptured. Just being mistaken for being gay can be fatal. 18-year-old Anthony Kalau was chased down the street in New York and beaten to death. These 2 men were beaten in what they note is the latest of a string of attacks on the gay-friendly uptown New York area. Police themselves are committing atrocious homophobic attacks, notes reporter Ramon Johnston, against the very people they're supposed to be protecting. Officers went here to the home of a man hosting a party for LGBT friends. They're seen here moving his surveillance cam so it wouldn't catch what happened next.
I got bum rushed, restrained on both my arms, and all of these cops are all of a sudden screaming and cursing and just calling me all these names, like, you know, like Herb said, you know, and, homo, gay, and things like that.
Attacked and beaten, left with concussion and cuts to his face for the crime, he says, of being gay. Those who call for pro-LGBT legislation get arrested. 43 gay activists protesting for human rights at Idaho's Senate chambers were hauled into custody. US Sports has an omerta, code of silence, freezing out LGBT players. Sports Illustrated writes the openly gay NBA star Jason Collins now can't find a team precisely because he came out last year. Top players and coaches told the magazine that openly gay NFL draft hopeful Michael Sam won't get picked in May, purely down to his sexuality.
Imagine if he's the guy next to me and, you know, I get dressed naked, taking a shower, the whole 9, and it just so happens he looks at me. How am I supposed to respond?
Authorities look on as crowds chant homophobic slurs in the stands. Changing the words to 70s hit YMCA is particularly popular.
Why are you gay? Why are you gay? Why are you gay? Why are you gay? I saw you son.
Obama claimed to comedian Jay Leno he has no patience for anti-gay behavior.
I have no patience for countries that try to treat gays or lesbians or transgender persons in ways that intimidate them.
A study finds his policies show nothing but patience. Obama reiterated America's, quote, firm commitment to Saudi Arabia after it extended anti-LGBT laws that already include the death penalty. Closest US allies in the Gulf, from Bahrain to the Emirates and Qatar, have joined to develop a medical test that supposedly identifies a gay person just by looking at him. Western tourists have already been jailed simply for admitting they are gay. Obama's approval of such policies is hardly surprising when, notes Truthdig, anti-gay laws themselves in the States are becoming increasingly intolerant.
The civil rights of gays, lesbians, bisexuals and transgender people in most states are deteriorating.
Cities, counties and states across the US have barred advocacy of homosexuality or promoting a homosexual lifestyle. Laws state homosexuality is not a lifestyle acceptable to the general public. In school, students only receive instruction regarding homosexuality in the context of sexually transmitted diseases.
Homosexuality happens in nature, but so does bestiality. That does not make it right or something we should be teaching at school.
Under bills just passed in State House of Representatives, same-sex couples can be refused service in shops, hotels, theatres and restaurants. State officials can legally refuse to deal with gay citizens anywhere from libraries to police stations and hospitals.
Representatives voted to allow businesses to lawfully deny any services to gays. Officials can also turn down LGBT at state institutions, such as police and hospitals, if it's against their beliefs.
It's not just Republican states like Kansas clamping down on LGBT couples, reports State Magazine. Polls say Oregon will also pass the same restrictions on shops serving gays when it votes in November. Gay Americans are actually being rounded up and arrested just on account of their sexual status. Slate reports undercover police officers are performing sting operations against the gay community where they
proposition men, lure them into an apartment, then promptly arrest them and bring them to jail.
Professor William Eskridge is a leading rights scholar at Yale Law School. Thank you for joining us. Is this really still happening?
In the southern cities of the United States, those cities that are still discriminating aggressively against gay people, and in other states in the North, the Midwest, and the West Coast. So this idea of entrapping gay people through undercover police officers is highly objectionable. It still occurs.
Pulitzer Prize-winning correspondent Chris Hedges says anti-gay senators aren't just trouncing progressives across the states. They now compete to out-homophobe each other, and the most extreme are winning. Dick Cheney's daughter Liz believes only in, quote, traditional marriage, despite the fact her own sister Mary is gay.
I also don't support amending the Constitution on this issue. I do believe in the traditional definition of marriage.
But Politico notes voters deserted her, forcing her out the Senate race when she backed at least some same-sex rights.
She appears on MSNBC to campaign against the marriage amendment and support government benefits for gay couples.
The only people harassing the gays of Sochi are the foreign journalists, admits Julia Ioffe of the New Republic. Members of Russia's gay community told her they're sick of foreign journalists lining up in gay bars and clubs across the country, trying to find a problem, any problem. The two countries sending by far the most journalists, they note, are America and Britain. The British Broadcasting Corporation has been to Sochi's gay club Mayak at least 4 times, trying to dig up some dirt. Leading Russian gay activist Nikolai Alexeyev says he's stopped even giving interviews to Western mainstream media, such as the hypocrisy for ignoring their own far worse problems while making up lies about Russia. Scholar Brian Heiss ordered the first professional translation into English of Russian legislation relating to LGBT communities, noting till now every US hack has repeated the standard lines and fake translations doing the rounds. Not a single one has ever bothered to do his job and check facts. He found the reality of Russian and US laws slightly different. The State Department sent NGOs to look for evidence of Russian workplace discrimination, only to report back it doesn't have the problems found in the US, including the right to fire workers just for being gay. Can gay or bisexual men donate blood? In Russia they can. In the United States it's illegal. Gay sex has been legal in Russia since '93, while Washington followed suit 10 years later. Many states continue to enforce local sodomy laws through stings.
Bag of operations where undercover police pretend to be gay men cruising for sex continue in Michigan and can lead to 15 years prison under the abominable and detestable crime against nature law.
Gay couples caught having consensual sex can be classed sex offenders, reports the Centre for Constitutional Rights. They must carry this ID at all times with the word sex offender in large orange letters and show it to everyone, from neighbours to landlords, schools and employers, even in parks.
If you gave gay propaganda to a minor in the US, you'd be registered as a sex offender and your life would be over. In Russia, it's a $61 fine.
Leading activists such as Andrei Tanishev note the situation is actually improving despite mainstream claims and fabricated videos. The Russian government recently joined a UN Human Rights Council declaration to intensify protection of LGBT citizens. In the last 3 years, the State Department-backed Sova Center reports there have been 18 anti-gay hate crimes. In the US, over 4,000. That's more than 3 every day.
The uncomfortable truth is that an LGBT individual is far more likely to be the victim of an anti-LGBT hate crime in the United States than in the Russian Federation.
Let's speak to activist Eric Draitser in New York. It's great to speak to you. What's going on here?
You don't see the mainstream media, the corporate media, talking about the discriminatory practices and laws that are being put in place in states like Utah, which are literally attempting to prevent openly gay couples from renting homes and buying homes and opening businesses. These are openly discriminatory policies, far more severe and far more reactionary and far more devious.
The 2002 Winter Games were held in Utah, a state where the City Weekly notes gay couples can still be rounded up under so-called bag-of-fag operations. Paul Joseph Watson's editor at Infowars. It's really great to see you. How do laws compare in Utah?
Well, by the same standard, the US should have boycotted its own Olympics in Salt Lake City in 2002 in Utah, because Utah has more draconian anti-gay rights. So the stench of hypocrisy is overwhelming, but...
Yeah, a study by rights scholar Brian Heiss asks, why is this epidemic of anti-LGBT hate crimes throughout the United States not being showcased by the media?
Well, when you think about mainstream media, I like to label it not so much as a stream, but as a putrid swamp, because the mainstream media has lost all its credibility through repeatedly lying about major issues.
All hate crime, no matter where it takes place, should be condemned. Rights scholar Heiss asks a simple question. Why is the media lying about other countries when there's a, quote, epidemic in the States, ignored by the mass media and being expanded by US politicians? Seek truth from facts. This is The Truth Seeker.